Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Aziza Munir, and I am here for teaching quantitative business analysis to you for the purpose of MBA 3.5 years program. Before initiating the entire course as well as today's lecture, I would like to introduce myself as this is the very first interaction between you and me. I'm with ComSets for about 8 years and serving ComSets Islamabad campus in the Management Sciences Department as a permanent faculty member. My area of specialization is purely in management and marketing. I've been taking management and marketing courses to MBA, MS and BBA level with final semesters. This time I'm taking quantitative business analysis and quantitative business techniques because this particular course is a prerequisite for all kind of research and for all kind of data interpretations and gatherings, which is the very important area of business. When basically a student get indulged in any of the business activity, it simply remains useless and it simply remains insufficient without the data gathering and data interpretation. So this particular course is designed for this purpose, to inform you, to tell you, to teach you, and remove all possible ambiguities which are there in terms of data gathering and research towards quantitative analysis. I've been taking this course still to MS level in last semester, but as this course is designed for MBA, so therefore the detailed techniques of SPSS and Stata and kind of other mathematical softwares, we are not going to touch them in detail, but we will be definitely talking about Excel and spreadsheets so that we can analyze that how we can interpret the quantitative figures as well as the graphs which are required for the analysis and reports. So we'll be starting the topic, we'll be starting the lecture today, and initially we'll be discussing the entire layout of the QBA, the quantitative business analysis, that how will it proceeds. So initially the course description, as it states, that it will focus on data handling and presentation, as I've described, that purely this course is meant for the data perspective. Any business, usually businesses have been considered that it's just the method of investing and taking the revenues, but actually this is not the case. How to invest, how much should be invested, which area of the business required major investments, and which type of procurements and purchases need to be made, and how much amount of money required to be invested, required to be utilized for this purpose. These are all related to the prior data which we have actually gathered and which is actually required for the investment purpose. So we focus on data handling and presentation at first. The course describes the entire details of how we'll be handling and how we'll be presenting it. Then it will be analyzed. It will analyze the need and importance of collecting data in business and methods to interpret them. That what is the need of collecting data? What is the importance of collecting data? And how it is presented in a way to interpret multiple kinds of informations, and then these informations will then be implemented on the business solutions. So how this data helps in that. What actually we are trying to do is that we are totally quantifying our business approach, which is regularly not there. So what is the regular dilemma of our businesses currently is, in Pakistan, that we distribute, or we somehow take a kind of we could not bridge the quantitative analysis as well as the business implementations. We consider that quantitative analysis is just the story and is just the bookish knowledge, so we should not focus on that. We should only focus on the implementations, and we should only focus towards the implementations. So actually it's not the case. Describe estimates. We'll be talking about the estimations, the probability, the forecasting environments, and on the basis of the information, how we can take a decision, how we can forecast the strategy, and how we can create contingency plannings on the basis of the information given to us. And we'll be talking about estimations, we'll be talking about probability distributions, we'll discuss later. Presentation of numeric data and theoretical interpretations for information and business applications. At one side, we'll be talking about collection and handling of data, and on the other side, we'll be talking about presentation, interpretation, and implementation of data. So that is the entire picture of the course. That why data, how to collect data, how to handle it, how to manipulate it, and how to take information from the presentation which these quantitative figures lay to us. The objectives of designing this course is to generate information, top of the list, that there's a difference between data and information. Data is raw form, but when we give some meaning to this data, this becomes an information for us. And this information becomes useful if utilized and applied in the right perspective or in the right quantum of the business. So we are talking about data as center of generating information. That is the core objective of the course, that why data and what we're going to interpret from that. Then we'll be analyzing, another objective of this course is to analyze that what are the data gathering techniques. Now this area goes towards research. Which type of techniques we are actually traditionally and in the modern world applied to gather data. Usually there exist 2 or 3 methodologies in gathering data, which are the primary techniques, the secondary techniques, and the analysis of the empirical studies which have already been conducted. When you combine all the studies, or when you combine the maximum studies, then you can interpret something. And when you are interpreting something, this is actually based on the empirical knowledge. This is not based on the type of data which you have collected, but this is based on the information which is already collected for some other purpose, but you are combining them together to generate some new results. So that is an empirical study, but what are they and how we can conduct it, we'll be studying in the research area of this course. Then another objective of this course is to mathematically and statistically interpret. One area of interpretations of data is mathematical, which is made through inductions, through models, through structures, through equations, in the linear way or in the non-linear way. And then some statistical tools will also be applied, and with these statistical tools combined with the mathematical interpretations, we come up with some certain kinds of reports. These certain kinds of reports are actually the baseline of any critical decision which we are about to take for our business. And usually when we talk about business failure, we talk about that why this business has been failed. So business is usually failed because of lack of implementations and lack of quality information applied in business, which is there in the environment, but we fail to recognize this information, and we fail to make this information a part of our business. So how we actually quantify, how we actually make a part of this quantified data to our business. Then we'll be talking generating useful, then we'll be talking research techniques. Now this is a very, very interesting area, that how many types of research techniques involved in gathering and presenting data, and which type of researches are already been conducted in business studies, and what are the tools of these research techniques and how we can actually implement them. Then in the end, the major objective of the course is to generate useful information. that how this data which we have collected, which we have interpreted, will be useful for generating certain kind of information to our business. The course is divided into two parts. That is the part one, which focuses on mathematical and statistical handlings of data. That is the estimations, probability. Probability will be talking in discrete and continuous ways, and both discrete and continuous probability, as well as the probability distribution. Now, why probabilities and estimation is so much focused, or random variables are so much focused? Because usually when we talk about business, we talk about future, we talk about strategy, we talk about something which will happen in future, which is unseen. So on the basis of what we are having, what data we are having, we used to create a kind of probable decisions that if this similar data has been collected, if this similar data is showing this picture, then future years will be describing what. So that is something which is probability distribution. And on the basis of estimates, we will be talking about decision analysis at one side. Then we'll be talking about forecasting on the basis of time series. So cutting it short, that in one part of the course methodology, we'll be talking about estimations, probability, probability distribution, continuous, discrete, random variables, a bit look of it, forecasting, decision making, and time series analysis. Afterwards, we'll be talking about the second part, more applicative part, that is research. What is the importance, what is the need of conducting research in the modern times, and what are the methods, techniques, and functions of conducting research. Now, research is a very, very detailed and very, very complex format. Hopefully you will be discussing research methodology in another course, but here we'll be just having a baseline of research. We cannot, in the given time frame, we cannot go into the details of research methodologies, but we'll be connecting research methodology to the quantitative business analysis, and we'll be discussing it with reference to the quantitative business analysis, that how this research is supporting and playing a role of a backbone towards QBA, towards quantitative business analysis. So how we will be conducting it in modern terms, and what are the actual functions and steps involved in research methods. Then we will be talking about data interpretations, presentations through statistical methods, as well as we'll be using the Excel sheets, the spreadsheets, so that we can monitor the responses and the trends which can be forecasted for future affairs, right? Okay, now we focus on our first lecture. Our first lecture is Introduction to Quantitative Business Analysis. Now, in this lecture, in the very first look, we will be talking about the need and developing a model. That what is these are few learning objectives of this chapter, and after completing this chapter, you will be able to analyze that what is the need and purpose of developing a model. What actually a model is, you will be knowing it shortly. How many types of model are there? Flowcharts of transformational process, meaning if we are transforming input to output, what is input, what is output, and what actually is the role of flowchart in it. Then model solution and report generation. If model is there, then how you solve the model. If you have successfully created a model, then how you solve the model. And then on the basis of the solution, how which type of report you are talking about, which type of report is actually being generated, what is the worth of this report, how will you be interpreting this report. Then the quantitative methods in practice. What are the quantitative techniques, what are the quantitative methods which are currently in practice in today's world, and what are they actually, and how they are differentiated between amongst them. And then the summary of the entire lecture. So Currently, we'll not be going in acute details of QBA, honestly, but we'll be just touching that what actually this model presentation and this model development is, which is the baseline of any quantitative business analysis. Why a model? Or actually, what is a model? To successfully apply quantitative analysis to decision making, the analyst must work with manager or user of the results. When both the quantitative analyst and the manager agree to the problem that has been adequately structured, model can be developed and work can be begun. Now, why model is required? Model is something which is the users as well as the quantitative business analysts approach at one point. What user is requiring is not that technical, might be, but the user is requiring a technical solution for that, for a problem. Quantitative business analyst is a person who actually takes the problem from the user side and condense it in the quantitative business techniques. And as it is mentioned that the quantitative analyst as well as the manager agrees at one point. Now this point is the one in which the requirement of the user, which is who is the manager of any firm, as well as the analysis of the problem towards the quantitative analyst is well matched. Now this, I repeat, that this is the point where the problem as well as the solution, prescribed solution, match at one point, which is easily understood by the user as well as the quantitative analyst. So this is what we usually known as, we describe as a model. That at this point, with this figure, with this equation, we both are satisfied that at the end of the situation, at the end of the solution, we will be describing, we will be presenting that. We will be getting a solution of this problem. How? We will be knowing it shortly. The model development is not very difficult, but usually model development is a technique. Now what actually a model is? Model are presentations of real objects or situations and can be presented in various forms. Model is a simulation of the real world situation. Simulation is a picture, or you can say it describes a situation of the real world, but it is a picture, and on the basis of this picture, on the basis of this condensed simulation, the quantitative business analyst or the quantitative analyst take interpretations and solve it and then apply the similar answer to the real world situation, so that the answer or the solution which is taken from this simulation is presented to the real world. So that makes a difference. Now what actually model is, it describes the object, real object, or the situation which can be presented in various forms. One is the scale model of an airplane, which is a real presentation of an aeroplane. Similarly, a child's toy truck is a model of a real truck. It has all the functions, all the descriptions that where the tire has been placed, where the position of the seats of passenger and driver have been placed, in which what is the capacity, how many tires are there, what is the structure of a truck, how it is differentiated from a car. All are actually describing in the form of a model toy. So these are the physical replicas of the object, and these physical replicas are known as iconic models. The very first type of model is iconic model. Another classification, or in fact the second classification, includes models that are physical in form but do not have same physical appearance as the objects. So although the model exists physically, but it is not being presented in the similar physical or in the similar objective form as it was there in the iconic model. So the difference between iconic model and analog model is that analog model require some information to be taken from the presentation of model. For example, if there is a speedometer placed in an automobile, it describes that at what speed the car or the vehicle is moving. But without the prior information that what does this 10, 20, 30, 40 till 120 describes, a layman cannot interpret any information. So it is an analog model. It requires an analogy behind. It requires a pre-structured information behind, that if the needle is placed at this point, it describes these details. It describes this much of the speed, for example. Or position of a needle on dial, meaning on a watch dial or on a wristwatch. If you want to note the time, you should know that which needle states what. The smaller needle states hours, or the larger or the bigger needle states minutes. So reading requires some analogy behind. Reading of this particular model requires some prior information. Similarly, if you want to read thermometer, if you want to read temperature from thermometer, again you require some analogy, you require some information prior to get the right information from that thermometer. And the thermometer reading is again not readable, is not meant for any information for a layman who is not known towards the temperature figures, or towards what actually the temperature figure states. So actually what you are talking about in analogy models is some information prior to the reader, prior to the person who is seeking information, and the particular object is again describing some more information to it. So speedometer, needle on dial, and thermometer are the examples of analog models which require some prior information behind. Third classification. The third classification states representation of a problem by system of symbols and mathematical relationing. Comparatively complex, but mostly applied, and actually that is the model which we'll be talking about in future. Mostly applied, meaning that this is the model which we actually use in business terms. Yes, we do use iconic models as well as the analogy models for certain kind of decisions, but these decisions are somehow very limited in scope as far as the business standing, as far as the business knowledge is concerned. What we follow, or what is more systematic, what is more condensed in generating information, is mathematical model. Mathematical model actually presents relationship of two variables. What is a variable? When we live in an environment, there are multiple areas which are constant, and there are multiple areas which vary, like the interests of consumers, or the fashions, the trends are variable. They change when environment changes. What remains constant for a limited time period is the income, or is the level of saving what a consumer is getting. So consumer is having two areas in one shot. One is the saving, and second is the fashions, or is the interest on which he is using his savings, or he is using his income. Now income is a constant factor, and consumption pattern, you can say, is a variable factor. Or consumption, if not particularly described in one object, you are talking about dressing, or you are talking about cosmetics, or if you're talking about fashion clothes, you're talking about varying interests. So these are the variables. So what is the relationship of these varying interests on income? Or how you are utilizing a constant factor, that is the income, to manage your variable interests? Relationship, mathematical modeling. Similarly, if you apply it on a business, as the example states, that the total profit from sales of a product can be determined by multiplying profit per unit by quantity sold. That if you know two figures, what is the production and what is the quantity sold, then you can easily analyze, okay, if sales are this much, then what is the profit, right? So if you're talking about generating information from production and sales, so information you're getting is in the form of profit, that how much profit is generated from sales of this much produced product. So this is the production function, which is production is equals to 10x. Now x represents variable units, and if you are multiplying it with the quantity sold, you will be analyzing that how much profit is there, or how much profit you are actually getting from this particular sales. What actually, how are these manipulated, or how we used to manipulate a mathematical model, we will discuss a bit later. Here we are just talking about the types of models. Okay, another very important area is a flowchart of process of transforming model input to output. Now a model, if failed to describe any output or any information, is simply useless. If a model is not giving any picture, if a model is not describing any solution in a set problem, then this particular model is simply useless. But a model should be a true picture of what is under an organization's control and what is not in the organization's control. So basically we talk about two factors. One is the controllable factor and other is the uncontrollable factor. On the basis of controllable factors, we control the uncontrollables, like the uncontrollables of environment. Now what might be the uncontrollable factors of environment? These are the fluctuating political situations which are having a direct control or a direct relationship on the business environment. But any fluctuation in political structure of the country is not controllable by one single organization or by one single firm in an industry. So it becomes an uncontrollable factor. Similarly, any changes in economic policies is again an uncontrollable factor. So if any change comes up in the economic situation or in the economic policy of a country, if the inflationary rate increases, if the level of unemployment increases, or if devaluation occurs, meaning devaluation of currency occurs, or any change in trade routes, trade policies, it directly affects the business. But a business failed to control this particular effect, which is there in the environment. But what a model helps is that model basically on the basis of controllable factors which we use to describe in model, these controllable factors can control the uncontrollable factors which are there in the environment and generate positive, applicable, implementable results. So a model really helps. So how? Now this is a transformational model, a flowchart, that how a mathematical model helps in generating information towards the controllable factors on the basis of the uncontrollable factors. Now the uncontrollable factors are directly related, are directly applied towards mathematical model. But mathematical model simply remains useless if specific input is not being provided to it. And this input is provided in the form of controllable inputs. Now, these controllable inputs are actually the decision variables. We have just discussed production function. This function states that if we want to analyze the profit of any company, of any organization, we need to have information about production, meaning how many units of products have been produced in a given time period by that organization, and how many units of production have been sold? So 2 factors have been taken. Now these 2 factors are the controllable factors. How many units a company is producing? Controlled by the organization itself. This is the major decision which an organization used to take, that how many units of production should be produced in this particular month or in this particular time frame. How many units of production has to be sold? Again, a part which is related to the organization itself. That how many units of production should be offered in market for the purpose of sales. Again, in the control, in the hands of the organization. Although there applies multiple variable factors of environment there. When you talk about production, you talk about supplies, you talk about raw material, you talk about semi-finished goods, and all these factors are available from environment. But we are not taking connection of that, although we are taking impact of that when we talk about the decision variables. The decision variables towards profit are production and sales. Now what is the production? This will be determined on the basis of environmental factors. कि कितनी सप्लाईज हुई हैं, कहाँ से रॉ मटेरियल आया, अगर इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ गई है तो डेफिनेटली रॉ मटेरियल की प्राइस भी बढ़ गई होगी, अगर सप्लायर्स ने की पॉलिसीज चेंज हो गई हैं या गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ कस्टम अप्लाई कर दिए हैं तो डेफिनेटली सप्लायर्स को इंसेंटिव मिल गया होगा. Definitely multiple problems will be there before production. But what we are taking as a factor, as a decision variable is production. Similarly, when we talk about sales, we talk about consumption, we talk about consumption model, we talk about savings of individuals, we talk about incomes of individuals, we talk about interests, fashions, fads, and multiple other areas. But which are the environmental factors, which are also the inputs, but uncontrollable inputs. So we are not giving weightage to that. Now weightage will be given to sales. Sales are affected by uncontrollable inputs. But we are not taking uncontrollable inputs, we are not giving uncontrollable inputs the major leverage at. We are giving major leverage at those objects as those variables which can be controlled by an organization or which are actually in the hands of a business, which is production and sales. How much to produce? Decision made by producers, firms itself. What to offer, which quantity to offer in market for sales purpose, or how many units should be offered to the market for the purpose of sales? Again, in the hands of the organizer, in the hands of the producer. So although these variables are inputs, but these are purely controlled by the decision makers in the form of business analysts. These two inputs are presented in the mathematical model, and after transformation, after the symbolic or systematic discussion or systematic interpretation in the mathematical techniques, we come up with results. Results in the form of profit, in the form of revenues, in the form of future investments, which are which an organization need to think after production and sales. That what is the outcome of this production and sales? This will be presented through mathematical modeling. And mathematical modeling, I repeat, describes relationship between production and sales, and describes a result in the form of profit. That if this much is production and this much is sales, so this much profit is being taken. Very simple. So output will present a physical result. And interestingly, this physical result is actually the true picture without having any individual's interpretations. This is a true picture. On the basis of this true picture, we take decisions. On the basis of revenues, on the basis of profits, we take future decision of investment. अगर हमारी सेल्स बहुत अच्छी हुई है उस प्रोडक्शन के हिसाब से, तो हम फ्यूचर में उस पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट के ऊपर इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि उसमें रेवेन्यू मार्जिन अच्छा है, उसमें प्रॉफिट अच्छे सीख हो रहे हैं. तो अगर if you are getting good profits from the given sales, meaning they are having good potential to take return from the market. So a product is equally acceptable in the market. So this model basically describes transformation of input into output, that how this input is generating information in the form of the output through physical results. Okay. Now this is again a example which describes that if specific production has been done and if projected profit, anticipated profit, वो profit जब भी नहीं हुआ लेकिन होगा, उसकी बेसिस के ऊपर हम किस किस्म की स्टडी कर सकते हैं. तो एक मॉडल ने हमें एक सोल्यूशन प्रोवाइड किया. मॉडल अगेन आई एम रेफरिंग टू द मैथमेटिकल मॉडल विच डिस्क्राइब्स रिलेशनशिप ऑफ प्रोडक्शन, सेल्स एंड प्रॉफिट्स. तो प्रोडक्शन क्वांटिटी अगर हमारे पास जीरो है तो प्रोजेक्टेड प्रॉफिट भी जीरो होगा और आवर्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन भी जीरो होंगे. लेकिन and it requires a feasible solution, yes, of course. With the very first quantity of production, the projected profit is 20 units, 20 rupees or dollars or whatever the money rate is. So for producing, after producing first unit of production, a company is enjoying 20 units of or 20 rupees of profit, which is the result of 10 hours of production. कि अगर एक एम्प्लॉई 10 आवर्स काम करता है तो वो एक यूनिट प्रोड्यूस करता है जिस पे उसे 20 रुपए का प्रॉफिट होता है. तो इसका मतलब ये है कि जो फिजिबल जो स्टडी है, जो रिटर्न आया है, दिस इज क्वाइट मच एक्यूरेट. एंड व्हेन यू लुक एट द ट्रेंड कि जब हमारी प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीज हो रही है फ्रॉम 1 to 2 तो हमारा प्रोजेक्टेड प्रॉफिट भी इंक्रीज हो रहा है on the consistent hours of production. प्रोडक्शन आवर्स जो है वो इंक्रीज तो हो रहे हैं डेफिनेटली. अगर एक यूनिट बनाने में आपको 10 घंटे लग रहे हैं तो 2 यूनिट बनाने में आपको 20 घंटे लगेंगे एक इंडिविजुअल को, एक लेबर यूनिट को. तो इसका मतलब ये है कि एज द प्रोडक्शन इंक्रीजेस, projected profit increases, and after producing, now look at the production quantity between 3 and 4. When the production is matured, when our labor is tuned to produce more in a given time period, he is enjoying more profit because the product is equally acceptable in market, as we have seen from the last slide. कि जब हमने तीसरा यूनिट प्रोड्यूस किया तो उसका प्रोजेक्टेड प्रॉफिट 40 रुपीज़ था, लेकिन चौथे यूनिट के ऊपर प्रॉफिट इंक्रीज हो रहा है इसलिए उनके प्रोडक्ट मार्केट में एक्सेप्टेबल है और हमें 60 रुपीज़ का प्रॉफिट दे रहा है. और हमारा जो लेबर है, ही इज़ ऑल्सो नॉट एग्जॉस्टेड, ही इज़ ऑल्सो पुटिंग इन सिमिलर एफर्ट. मीनिंग कि अगर हमारे पास 4 लेबर हों तो वो 10 घंटे काम कर रहे हैं और अगर हमारे पास एक लेबर है तो वो 40 घंटे काम कर रहा है और 60 रुपये का प्रॉफिट अर्न कर रहा है. तो जो फीजिबल सोल्यूशन है वो ये है कि प्रोडक्शन शुड गो ऑन एंड ऑन. प्रोडक्शन इज गिविंग और यू कैन से द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज ऑप्टिमाइजिंग इट्स प्रोडक्शन, and in the given situation the organization should continue towards production because after producing third unit the organization has increased the return where the labor hours remains constant. There is 10 increase in the labor hours of production and there is 20 rupees increase after the third unit of sale or third unit of production. Your revenue is increased from 20 units, 20 rupees. So this gives a good picture, a good sign, a positive sign. So the interpretation is from these figures that the model is giving or the picture which has been presented through this model or the kind of relationship which has been presented in this model is giving us with a very fine detail, with a very fine process of production. So we should continue towards the production. Critical area, report generation. Now why critical? Because a model will be giving you a true picture as we have discussed earlier, but this report generation is interpreted by the manager according to his own knowledge, according to his own information, according to his own mind structure. So which might be misguiding. When you talk about report generation after mathematical modeling, so actually the report which is generated is describing the true picture. It's describing a kind of picture which is without any ambiguity. But how this particular information is applied, is implemented on particular production process or on particular segment of the business is in the hands of a manager. So that is the reason why a business manager or why a manager in any production house, in any organization, need to know the quantitative techniques. That is why we have given a kind of intro for the course to make you people analyze that why this particular course is designed and what is the need and importance of this course is towards a business manager. That information can be taken by a very, very good mathematician. A mathematician is not at all a manager. Now, this information can be taken by a mathematician. This information can be taken by a statistician or a very good economist. But neither of them is a decision maker. Neither mathematician nor statistician nor the economist is able to take a kind of business decision. Who is taking a business decision is a manager, and you people are the managers. So when you are generating a report that is purely based on the solution will be purely based on the quantitative analysis of a problem. जो प्रॉब्लम आपने प्रेजेंट की है आपको उसी का सोल्यूशन मिलेगा, चाहे वो कंजम्पशन फंक्शन है, चाहे वो प्रोडक्शन फंक्शन है, चाहे वो किसी कोई प्राइस मैकेनिज्म है. जितनी आप जिस किस्म की आप इनपुट डालेंगे उसी से रिलेटेड आपको आउटपुट मिलेगा. सो जो भी सोल्यूशन आया है आपके पास वो एक्चुअली एक प्रॉब्लम का क्वांटिटेटिव एनालिसिस है. Now, this particular analysis helps in making a decision. The quantitative analyst is not at all a decision maker, and that is why primarily we have discussed that we have to come up at a point where manager of the organization and the quantitative analyst should come up, should be agreed at one point, should come up at that point which is equally understood by both. That is the problem. Quantitative analyst will take the problem and present the solution. This solution will remain useless if the manager failed to understand and apply it to the specific business. So the report which is generated helps in taking a decision, and report actually present recommended decision as well. कि अगर हमारे पास feasible study नहीं है सेल्स की तो हमें प्रोडक्शन नहीं करनी चाहिए उस पर्टिकुलर प्रोडक्ट की. या अगर हमारे पास सेल्स नेगेटिव में जा रही है या सेल्स नहीं हो रही, सेल्स रिमेन्स कांस्टेंट, प्रोडक्शन तो हो रही है, सेल्स नहीं हो रही, तो इसका मतलब यह है कि सरप्लस में जा रहा है प्रोडक्ट. प्रोडक्शन तो हो रही है लेकिन सेल्स नहीं हो रही, और अगर सेल्स नहीं हो रही तो इसका मतलब यह है कि प्रोडक्ट रिमेन इन द मार्केट shelves and will be perished in a given time period. So it will not be generating any revenue, but will become a source of loss for any organization, because the organization is already bearing expense for the production. But the kind of production or the units of production which are offered for sales are not sold out from the market. So therefore, we require a kind of product which should have sales margin. According to the production function, we can get that what should be produced and what should be sold in market. Therefore, the report represent a recommended decision, and manager lies or focuses his overall working on this report. Without this report, manager failed to take a decision, and manager will also fail to take a decision if he is not interpreting the right results which have been presented in the report. So two major areas. Mathematical modeling आपको मॉडल का सोल्यूशन प्रोवाइड कर देगी या प्रॉब्लम का सोल्यूशन प्रोवाइड कर देगी, और आपको एक रिकमेंडेड डिसीजन भी प्रेजेंट कर देगी कि इस पर्टिकुलर डेटा की बेसिस के ऊपर, इस पर्टिकुलर इनपुट की बेसिस के ऊपर, कंट्रोलेबल और अनकंट्रोलेबल फैक्टर्स की बेसिस के ऊपर जो फिजिकल सिनेरियो है या जो फिजिकल रिजल्ट्स हमारे पास डेवलप हुए हैं वो ये हैं. अगर वो फीजिबल है तो कंपनी को प्रोडक्शन सेल्स करनी चाहिए, अगर वो फीजिबल नहीं है तो कंपनी को प्रोडक्शन सेल्स नहीं करनी चाहिए इन द गिवन एग्जांपल. लेकिन ये सब कुछ उसी वक्त होगा जब मैनेजर उन फिगर्स को इक्वली अंडरस्टैंड भी करेगा जो कि उसने उस रिपोर्ट ने प्रेजेंट किया. हियर विल बी डिस्क्राइबिंग दैट व्हाट आर द क्वांटिटेटिव मेथड्स व्हिच आर इन प्रैक्टिस नाउअडेज. लीनियर प्रोग्रामिंग, combination of two variables, or any equation which is having two variables, x or y, or on the basis of x, y is affected. One is independent, other is dependent. That is linear programming, where two variables have been studied, where two variables used to be studied, and studied in a way that what is the relationship of one variable over the other. That is linear in nature. Sometimes binomial are also considered, but usually when we talk about business practices, if you are very much acquainted with the working of linear programming, then you can apply the similar patterns towards binomials and polynomials as well, where multiple variables have been applied in a given situation and results are required. So, but the formation of equation and interpretation of the equation or systematic dealing of the equation remains the similar one. Get a bit complex when you talk about polynomials and when you talk about multiple variables, but the functioning remains the similar one. So we are not going into much details, so we'll be talking about linear programming, and step higher to it is the integer linear programming. Integer linear programming involves one figure, or one, you can say, a coefficient, which becomes a very, very important concern in a specific business. Like, for example, if you are talking about production and sales, the similar example which we have discussed a few times. If in integer linear programming, if a very detailed, or you can say if a coefficient which is unignorable, meaning that if production is there, you are applying a kind of relationship with the production which cannot be distracted. मतलब हम प्रोडक्शन के साथ एक मेजर एरिया को निगेट नहीं कर सकते. मेजर एरिया ये है कि एक पर्टिकुलर मशीनरी ऐसी है जो कि आपको गिवन टाइम फ्रेम में डबल प्रोडक्शन देती है, तो हमने उसको 2x के साथ, या we are applying coefficient of 2 with that, so that इस पर्टिकुलर मशीन के ऊपर अगर हम प्रोडक्शन करते हैं तो हमें ट्वाइस रिजल्ट मिलता है. तो दिस बिकम्स एन इंटीजर लीनियर प्रोग्रामिंग कि कोई एक ऐसी सिचुएशन है जिसमें हम किसी एक फिगर को या किसी एक इंटीजर को एक बहुत स्पेसिफिक रिलेशनशिप के साथ अटैच कर देते हैं. तो उस केस में दूसरे वेरिएबल के ऊपर क्या फ़र्क पड़ेगा कि अगर प्रोडक्शन जो है, एक मशीन ट्वाइस प्रोडक्शन कर रही है, तो उसका सेल्स पे क्या इफेक्ट होगा. दैट बिकम्स इंटीजर लीनियर प्रोग्रामिंग. देन प्रोजेक्ट स्केजुलिंग, दैट इफ वी आर स्केजुलिंग अ प्रोजेक्ट तो हमें उसकी मल्टीपल एक्टिविटीज़ को माइंड में रखना है. तो एक ये बहुत मॉडर्नाइज्ड टेक्निक है क्वांटिटेटिव मेथड्स की, कि जब हमने एक प्रोजेक्ट को एनालाइज करना है, प्रोडक्शन को एनालाइज करना है या सेल्स को एनालाइज करना है, तो हम उसको एक्टिविटीज़ के थ्रू एक्टिविटीज़ में डिवाइड कर लें कि प्रोडक्शन इतनी एक्टिविटीज़, 5 एक्टिविटीज़ में प्रोडक्शन होगी और ये हमारा प्रोजेक्ट है कि 5 एक्टिविटीज़ को कंप्लीट करना, ये हमारा प्रोजेक्ट है. अब इसके 2 मेथड्स हैं जो कि हम अप्लाई करेंगे और देखेंगे कि किस किस्म के रिजल्ट्स आते हैं. एक मेथड है PERT, which is program evaluation and review technique. कि एक प्रोग्राम अगर हमने डिस्क्राइब किया है, प्रोडक्शन प्लान अगर हमने डिस्क्राइब किया है, तो उस प्रोडक्शन प्लान को हम किस तरह से एवेल्युएट कर सकते हैं अकॉर्डिंग टू द एक्टिविटीज़ विच वी हैव स्केड्यूल्ड, और उसको हम किस तरह से रिव्यू करेंगे. अगर तो वो सक्सेसफुल रिजल्ट्स जनरेट कर रहा है, then we should go towards that. और अगर नहीं करा तो we have to relate the activities at one time and have to complete project in time. क्योंकि जब हम project की बात करते हैं या project scheduling की बात करते हैं, we used to take 3 constraints with us. One constraint is the cost constraint, second is the time constraint, and third is the resources constraint. कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट इन तीनों कंस्ट्रेंट्स के बगैर नहीं होता. हमारे पास टाइम भी कम होता है, हमारे पास टाइम भी गिवन होता है, कॉस्ट भी गिवन होती है और रिसोर्सेज भी गिवन होते हैं. इन तीनों चीज़ों की बेसिस के ऊपर हमें मल्टीपल एक्टिविटीज़ को स्ट्रीमलाइन करना होता है. और इन मल्टीपल एक्टिविटीज़ के अंदर फिर हमें देखना होता है कि कौन सी एक्टिविटी किस एक्टिविटी के साथ कंबाइन होकर काम कर सकती है. मीनिंग अगर एक्टिविटी 1 और एक्टिविटी 2 दोनों इकट्ठी इनिशिएट हो जाए तो एक्टिविटी 3 जल्दी हो जाएगी. इसका मतलब ये है कि वी आर सेविंग आवर टाइम एज वेल एज रिसोर्सेज. सो देयरफॉर this cutting it short, that PERT describe the program evaluation and review technique. Similarly, critical path method के हम CPM के थ्रू भी प्रोजेक्ट को स्केड्यूल कर सकते हैं, जिसमें हम एनालाइज करते हैं कि कितने पाथ होंगे. हम एक्टिविटीज़ की बजाय हम पाथ्स में रिसोर्सेज के ऊपर हम काम करते हैं और उन पाथ्स को डिफाइन करते हैं कि ये पाथ हम फॉलो करेंगे तो इतने टाइम में हमारा प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट हो सकता है. तो CPM इज बेसिकली डिस्क्राइबिंग द क्रिटिकल पाथ मेथड. उसकी कुछ डिस्क्रिप्शंस हैं, उसकी कुछ रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं, विल सी कि वो क्या है. देन देयर इज अनदर मेथड विच इज सिमुलेशन. हमने सिमुलेशन के ऊपर से पहले भी बात की है थोड़ी सी, लेकिन सिमुलेशन एक और बहुत स्मार्ट क्वांटिटेटिव टेक्निक है. और सिमुलेशन के अंदर हम प्रेजेंट करते हैं कंडेंस्ड पिक्चर एक स्पेसिफिक बिजनेस सिचुएशन की, और उस बिजनेस सिचुएशन को हम मैथमेटिकल मॉडलिंग के थ्रू कुछ क्वांटिटेटिव रिजल्ट्स के ऊपर अप्लाई करते हैं. सिमुलेशन के अंदर हम मुख्तलिफ किस्म की टेक्निक्स भी अप्लाई करते हैं. In simulation, we might go for multiple kind of models, and with these multiple models, get 2 or 3 results, and with these 2 or 3 results, we interpret the situation. कि ये situation है, इतने competitors हैं, ये consumers interest है, इतनी consumption है, ये personal disposable income का rate चल रहा है, उसकी basis के ऊपर इस प्रोडक्ट की सेल्स कितनी होगी. तो उसमें हमें 2-3-4 फंक्शंस बनाने पड़ेंगे, और 2-3-4 फंक्शंस की बेसिस के ऊपर हमने सिमुलेट कर दिया है, कंडेंस कर दिया है, एक ऐसी सिचुएशन बना दी है जो कि रियल सिचुएशन की पिक्टोरियल रिप्रेजेंटेशन है, और इन फिगर्स वी आर रिप्रेजेंटिंग द एक्चुअल रियल सिचुएशन. और उस एक्चुअल रियल सिचुएशन की बेसिस के ऊपर वी विल अगेन बी गेटिंग सर्टेन काइंड्स ऑफ रिजल्ट्स, और उन रिजल्ट्स को फिर हम इंटरप्रेट करेंगे. तो ये सिमुलेशन है, बहुत एडवांस टेक्निक है क्वांटिटेटिव मेथड की, जिसको हम डिस्कस करेंगे अपने कोर्स में इंशाल्लाह. देन वी विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट डिसीजन एनालिसिस ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ मल्टीपल एस्टिमेशंस एंड प्रोबेबिलिटीज विद डिस्क्रीट एंड कंटिन्यूस नेचर एंड प्रोबेबिलिटी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन एज वेल. We'll be talking about decision analysis. कि जो हमने डिसीजन लिया है या हम ले रहे हैं, इसकी क्या वर्थ होगी. और एक चीज़ के ऊपर, now decision is actually selecting amongst the alternatives. कि 2-3-4 किस्म के हमारे पास alternatives आ गए हैं, 2-3-4 किस्म के हमारे पास pictures present हो गई हैं, and out of these 4 or 5 situations, what decision has to be taken which will be presenting a better situation, which will be presenting a better situation of the business in future. There might be a case that decision which we are taking currently is not profitable, but after some time, this decision will generate an extraordinary profit. So that is a decision analysis. That if we are presented with 2 or 3 pictures, if we are presented with 2 or 3 analysis, then which type of decision is the most accurate and is the most vulnerable. Forecasting. Usually forecasting is made in time series और statistical tool है forecasting का और time series के multiple methods भी हैं, हम discuss करेंगे इंशाल्लाह detail में ये method भी. Forecasting usually is known as a very sound technique when you are talking about strategic planning and when you are talking about contingency planning. In forecasting, we collect data for a specific organization for multiple years, like for 10 years. We'll be talking about data for 10 years, and on the basis of 10 years data trend, we are forecasting future information, future trends. कि अगर usually एक साल में हमारे पास 2-3 seasons आते हैं, ठीक है. Other than the weather seasons, we are having the religious seasons, and we are having the you can say the economic seasons. Like for example, when you are talking about a back to school time period, or when you're talking about September or end of August time period, that is a kind of time which requires maximum investments made on households or for kids, one season. Similarly, when you talk about Eid and festivals, so again there exist 2 seasons which requires a kind of investment which is a kind of change in the regular investments. So forecasting is a technique that if we are having multiple seasons with us, if we are having multiple cyclic trends with us, or if we are having multiple movements with us for a specific organization, then how we will be forecasting decision in future. So forecasting involves multiple techniques. What will be these techniques? We'll be discussing them later. Okay, what we have done? We have done that why we need quantitative business analysis. Cutting it short, that we require quantitative business analysis because our regular managers like you, or the new managers which are currently not have initiated their own businesses or not have been a part of any organization so far, are not aware from the data gathering importance and data interpretation's importance and the business implementation. So basically quantitative business analysis is a technique which used to bridge the quantity or the mathematical tools with that of the implementations. जो हमारा रेगुलर एक ट्रेंड है वो ये है कि जो बिजनेस है, जो बिजनेसमैन है, उसको इतना पढ़ने लिखने की तो ज़रूरत है नहीं. जो अच्छे बिजनेसमैन हैं उनके पास तो MBA की डिग्री नहीं है, उनके पास तो कोई बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग किसी बहुत अच्छे बिजनेस स्कूल से की एजुकेशन नहीं है, बट स्टिल दे आर रनिंग अ वेरी सक्सेसफुल बिजनेस. तो ये एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग गलत है. इसलिए गलत है क्योंकि अगर एक लेमैन ने बिजनेस इनिशिएट किया है तो उसने बहुत सारे ट्रायल्स और एरर्स करके उस पोजीशन को अचीव किया. What we are reducing here is trial and error. What we are giving you is the recommended solution which has to be applied to generate the maximized or to generate the optimized results from your business instead of getting the trial and error situation. So that is the purpose of getting acquainted with the quantitative business analysis, or how these figures are helpful in business. Why model? Because model describes the actual situation of the model is the actual presentation of the objects and situations. So objects and situations cannot be actually presented in the model or in the systematic mathematical modeling. What is being presented is the variables in the form of controllable and uncontrollables. On the basis of it we create a model जिसमें हम मुख्तलिफ variables की relationships को define करते हैं और उन relationships की basis के ऊपर एक result achieve करते हैं और उस result की basis के ऊपर information लेते हैं which is helpful for our future implementations or future practices in business. We have discussed various types of models in this lecture, which include iconic model, analog model and mathematical model. We have discussed that a mathematical model is the most applicable model, and that is the one which we are going to discuss in the future. But iconic and analog model are also applied in engineering as well as in other sciences and maths as well. But in business studies, we will be talking about mathematical models and somehow very little the analog model. Then we have discussed the models which are currently in practice. We have discussed that these techniques have already been there in market and in practice and generating successful results. We have discussed the linear programming, the integer linear programming. We have discussed decision making, forecasting and simulation, and project scheduling through PERT and CPM. These are few techniques, although there exist multiple techniques. I have said initially कि जब हम डेटा को प्रेजेंट करते हैं तो हमारे पास बहुत सारे सॉफ्टवेयर्स भी हैं जिसमें सबसे जो सिंपल टू यूज़ है वो एक्सेल शीट है. इससे थोड़ी सी बहुत ज़्यादा एडवांस जो है वो SPSS है और उससे एडवांस डाटा है. इसके अलावा EMOS है और बहुत सारे सॉफ्टवेयर्स हैं जो कि डेटा को प्रेजेंट करने में हमारी हेल्प करते हैं प्रेजेंट करने में, गैदर करने में नहीं. तो डेटा गैदर कैसे होगा और उसमें फोरकास्टिंग कैसे होगी, ये डेफिनेटली एक मैनेजर को पता होनी चाहिए. तो ये हमारा एक जनरल सा इंट्रोडक्शन था इस कोर्स का, जिससे हमें ये पता लगा है कि यूजुअली अगर हम इन फिगर्स से या हम बीइंग मैनेजर्स हम फिगर्स से और मैथमेटिकल इंटरप्रिटेशन से थोड़ा सा रिलक्टेंट रहते हैं, लेकिन इन फिगर्स की और मैथमेटिकल इंटरप्रिटेशंस की बहुत ज़्यादा वेटेज है. Let me clear you one very important thing is that the course will not require a very sound mathematical mind. बिकॉज इससे पहले हमें ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आपके पास डबल मैथ्स की या स्टैट्स की या इकोनॉमिक्स की क्वालिफिकेशन हो. इसके अलावा भी अगर जितनी टेक्निक्स हम इस पर्टिकुलर कोर्स में यूज़ करेंगे उसके लिए प्री रेक्विजिट्स इतने कोई बहुत सॉलिड और साउंड प्री रेक्विजिट्स की ज़रूरत नहीं है, लेकिन जो टेक्निक्स हम इसमें यूज़ करेंगे उनके ऊपर एक्विंटेंस आपको बहुत ज़्यादा चाहिए. So this is all for this lecture. Inshallah, in future lectures we'll be talking about estimation and probability in the beginning, and afterwards we'll be talking about research methods. Thank you so much for this time.